I'm done buying trailers, guys. We love this camper van life. I get it now. I get it. It makes so much sense. You know, we were just at Love Station. We had, well, my wife, she's the healthy one. When I travel by car, I just skip McDonald's because I want something quick, fast, and easy. And I don't like to stop for 30 minutes. I like to keep going, guys. I don't know. My family, they love to just relax. We got like 700 more miles to go, but it is what it is. But one thing I like about this thing is you can literally come back here. If you need to go to the refrigerator, you gotta be really careful though, because things do kind of slide around in here. If you want to grab something out, you want to go to the bathroom, maybe you want to take a shower on the way, although I don't recommend you do any of this stuff. I'm just joking with you. But if you want to like lay down, right, like you can just come in here and just lay down. Isn't this nice? I will say the van life is a good life, but if your kids or you get a little car sick, don't sit in the very back. Now we have this out into a bed. I am going to show you guys what it looks like when we put it up in a seat, but all the way in the back, because of how tall this is and depending on what kind of tires you choose, this thing sways quite a bit. So they do have different floor plans where you could have a seat here if that works for you, because I'm telling you, my daughter will get car sick back here. I might even get car sick back there. Ooh. And these seats are super comfortable. Like, look how much like height you have. You almost feel like you're standing up inside of here, right? But yeah, this is definitely a really nice way to travel. See, we live really far from our family, and if we decided we wanted to potentially get one of these, this would be a nice way to travel because it's incognito. If you want to park it in a neighborhood, you can. It just makes a little bit more sense, and it has all the amenities that you would get in an RV. Like, you still can use a bathroom, although this has a cassette toilet. We're going to do a full review on this thing at some point too. There's just a lot of benefits to it. However, I would want one a little bit bigger than this, and I think this is almost the biggest you can go before it's too big. And at some point in this video, I'm going to show you guys 2 fill-ups. We've already gone into 7 regions. You heard me correctly. 7 regions. Now, when we left Utah, we did 2 regions within 100 miles. The third one came on within a couple 100 miles, and then so on and so forth. Now, I did clock it here. I'm going to see how long we're going on these regions. But that's the other issue with these vans. I mean, this is considered an off-road rig. It is all-wheel drive. But the problem is, if you're going off-road at low speeds, if you're idling this thing, your emission stuff on here is not going to be reliable. And I think I'm doing this guy a big favor here because it's not regenerating as much because we've been just constantly driving, and I've been trying to get good diesel for this thing. So I'm spending a little bit more money on diesel. This is trying to help a little bit for the fuel economy, but regardless of it, it's been windy, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I really do like the van life, and I can't wait to kind of show you around this thing. The only thing we cannot figure out, because last night it was super cold, I could not figure out how to turn the heat on. That was the only thing, because this doesn't have propane from what I could see. And, or maybe I just haven't looked everywhere. I just looked on the outside to see if there's a tank. I didn't see a tank, so I don't know if this runs off of like electric heat or what, but we'll figure it out. It's just a matter of time. 4 hours and 22 minutes later, this woman here got us safe and sound to Illinois, and it's time for another fill up. So one thing I'll tell you is this: it's March and it's very, very windy. So when you see the fuel economy for this rig, it's not that good. But what I'll tell you is, if it wasn't windy and if we weren't driving at this time of the year, I think that we probably could get somewhere in the neighborhood of like maybe 18. Some people say you can get 20 plus. I don't think you can get 20 plus with a rig like this. I'm sorry. And who knows, maybe there's other people out there who've done fuel analysis on these things that can prove it. But I don't care what your word says. You got to show me the numbers. And my numbers don't lie. I've done so many tests like this, and every time I do it, I'm always like the one person that says, well, here's what the math says, and here's what this can actually get. But again, when you see the numbers,
it's really windy, and it's just not ideal if you're trying to get the best fuel economy.
So here's 3 fill-ups for the trip going out east. And if you don't know, I live in Utah, and we did travel through Wyoming, which is pretty much climbing up to like 10,000 feet elevation. And because of the wind, we did not include the first fill-up, and on top of that, the regens. Now, this van was a rental, and I'm willing to bet you this van sits a lot. And on top of that, it's probably not driven enough on the highway for long periods of time. So we probably did about maybe 4 or 5 regens within 150 to 200 miles. And I'm not joking, it's a lot. So once we got out of that first fill up, we did this first one here, which is really technically the second one. We went 270 miles. The computers say we're getting 16.8 miles per gallon. And so it costs $70 to fill up at 15.439 gallons. And at the pump, we got 17.53, which is pretty dang good. So putting a few hundred miles on the van, got that DPF hot. The regens were coming on around 150 to 200 each one. So way better than 5 within that time, that same mileage, excuse me. But yeah, the variance between the computer and the pump, we actually got 0.73 better than the computer. Sometimes people will say, well, the computer is going to be off and it's going to show higher. But based off of the ECMs and maybe how they're reading the fuel economy, I've noticed if you're doing a lot of highway driving, they are more accurate. So if you do a lot of stop and go traffic, or if you idle a lot, sometimes you will get a higher number here compared to the pump. And remember, regens can affect that number as well. Now the second fill up, we did go a little bit further, and this is probably where that 50-mile-an-hour wind was hitting us. So we were driving probably about 45, 50 miles an hour in some cases. And you guys see almost $100 fill up. We bought 21.191 gallons of diesel. And then again, the pump saw 14.58, which is a little bit better than what the computer was saying, which is a 0.78 variance. Last one here, $100, 19.889 gallons purchased. We went 317.7 miles, and computer said 15.6. We saw just under 16 miles to the gallon for a 0.37 variance. So one thing I'll mention too is when I topped off, when these Sprinter vans are full, they are full. So I highly recommend, if you're renting one for the first time or if you're thinking about buying one, once you hear it click off, there ain't much more you can get in there. So I just slightly filled up afterwards. The first time I did it, it just spilled out everywhere, and I was ticked off. But the last ones I did, they were, pretty much at the very top. So just be careful. And then here's overall the numbers. So you guys see the cost total for driving just under 900 miles in my scenario with the wind and things like that. We purchased 56.519 gallons of diesel, and this was the average computer. You guys saw we got a little bit better at the pump, and then this is the variance here. So overall, I do have a video coming on how to kill your Sprinter van's engine. There's a lot of things out there that Mercedes and all the other manufacturers do not tell you about these diesel engines. So again, if you're thinking about buying one of these vans, be sure to subscribe to your channel so you don't miss that upload. I think it's going to answer a lot of questions and why you should really, really consider not doing the maintenance schedule for Mercedes.